It's amazing how some parents are completely unhinged, irrational, and they go so far as to bully other children. My daughter has a situation with an ex-friend's parent, which is rather baffling, isn't it, when you when you think about it? So she told me last night of a situation, and to be honest, I was fuming. I live quite a way away, so we do the FaceTimes, and I'm not someone who sits quietly on any issue in life, really. So I'll talk about injustices, and I really don't care who the person is. So if something bothers me, I'm going to raise awareness to it. So yeah, there's repercussions to everything, isn't there? I can't say who the person is, although I'd love to. I think sometimes there's a case of protecting identities. So I do take those things serious. I think there's times when people need to be held accountable, though. So in this instance, if I had their face and name, I would use it. So I'm very transparent. I don't care how I come across. I'm just always honest, and that's it. So whether I'm right or wrong in a situation, you'll always get an honest response from me. So yeah, because I think they need to be held accountable. You can't just go around slandering people, making wild accusations, especially for a minor. My daughter's 15, and expect to get away with it. So I even made a point to my daughter: well, if she persists, then we can look into it, and it might be maybe she can get done for slander. I think that's the thing that most people don't realize. Slander is when you're lying about someone. So you need to be very careful how you spread information that can affect someone's character and reputation. That's really what's going on there, isn't it? But if you're telling the truth, then it's not slander, is it? So in this situation, there's a friend group. So my daughter's had. I don't want to go too deep into it, but got to be transparent one way or the other, don't we? You're going to have to be. I've documented our journey, the trauma we went through for a period, the life we've had, and I've stopped documenting that to a degree because I'm working on my other books, and there's probably pockets of information within it. And I've spoke quite openly through videos for years. I'm always there for her every holiday. Whenever she needs a phone call, I'm there. When she needs my support, I'm there. So she comes to me with absolutely everything, and it's a beautiful relationship we actually have. But she's had problems, adjusting, being separated from me. She just wants to be with me all the time. And unfortunately, it's not how the courts work, and it's not how the system works. And we've had to all make peace with the situation. And me and her mum were at war for a long time. And but I eventually put a block on it. I don't want to interact. And slowly but surely, there's been this almost like a peace pact. You know. So I'll hear her on the call, and like when we're talking, I'll talk to my daughter, and I can talk to my daughter all day. So she allows that, but we don't talk. We don't interact with each other. So it's been hard for her. So she had a period at school, like a good few years actually, where she was struggling even to attend school. She wasn't. She was having conflict with the teachers. There was issues. Because there's sometimes where they don't listen, and and they're disrespectful, and not every school's the same. And it's a bit like me. It's often said that I'm the problem. That I could be in a situation where we talk about previous workplace, for instance. I had arguments with quite a few members of staff. I had a problem with my manager. I had a problem with the supervisor. I had a problem with a couple of work colleagues. And because I'm outnumbered in that sense, the issue is that I've got a problem with maybe 4 people. Now, I must be the problem. No, it was a toxic culture. My manager kept changing the contract, the terms of our employment, even against HR. He didn't inform HR of these changes. He was just doing it on impulse because he was getting annoyed with the situation. He doesn't like this, doesn't like that. He'll change it just to exert some authority. I don't much like that. I'm someone that likes to. I'm honour integrity, to truth, transparency. He was doing everything against those things. So I'm not someone that's just going to idly put up with that. I had work colleagues keep coming up to me and complaining about the situation, because they know I'm a fire kick. They know I'm going to be the one that speaks up, and they don't want to risk their jobs. So I would speak up, and I'd do that. It didn't matter who it was, I would do that. Then a supervisor kept prioritising other people he'd previously worked with, because some people come to our company, our job, from a different external place. They come about four of them, and they all buddied up really, so they got priorities and there's things like that. So I had a problem with this guy. I told him I don't like him. There was another colleague where her husband worked with her, so there was 2 against 1 in an immediate situation, and she thought she was more important. And she was also part of this clique with the supervisor. So she tried to exert some authority over me, and she was no bigger than me, no more important. Her role was no different, really. And I noticed she was being lazy an awful lot, but she tried to accuse me of that, and she's the one that wasn't getting her job done and got frustrated that people weren't supporting her when she doesn't support them. Again, I'm not an idiot. So I did that. I had another colleague who spent all of his time out in the yard talking to drivers as he was doing unloading and loading. The easiest job in the whole place. There's not really much physical work. You can just sit there on a forklift and just go back and forward. We're all trained on a forklift. We're all supposed to do the forklift. I was doing internal work where I had to use a reach truck. And it used to be quite simple. You just put the stuff up and down. It's a bit more technical because it's really high. In the end, a lot of stuff from the yard came inside. So his job was getting easier and easier. And we're doing a lot of the heavy. So there's maybe just 2 or 3 of us that are doing all the heavy stuff and was under pressure to get all the orders done. This isn't fair. This isn't right. So anyway, they tried to say that I was talking all the time, but I was watching him and I knew he was talking. So I pulled him up on it. So yeah, on the outside, I've had an issue with 4 people. I'm the arsehole. No, I just don't put up with shit. I mean, my daughter's similar. I don't think she's as combative as me, but then she's younger than me. You know, I don't think I was quite like that at school, to be totally honest. I was good with people at school, but I kept my distance when I want my distance. I preserved my energy. I wasn't interested in a popularity contest. So I had different groups of people. I just like people, you know, but I like people, but I also like my time to myself. I like my independence. So I'm not interested in a popularity contest. I'm not interested in having friends for life and all that stuff. You know, it's not personal. If you're supposed to be with me for life, you be with me for life. If you're not, it's good. We chill. We have a moment. Some people have attachment issues. And I think that's what this other person is like. So the issue is with my daughter, for instance, I gave her a pep talk about school and told her, like, maybe relax a little bit more when you're going to school. Not everything has to be a conflict. She knows what I'm like. But I said it's always balanced. I don't just go around trying to cause trouble, but if there's an issue, I'm going to be direct about it. But it's about balancing it, you know, read the room. Not everything's your problem. Sometimes maybe people reacting to the way you're expressing yourself, or not even that. Maybe the way your demeanor is, so they've taken a defensive action immediately. So maybe just relax a little bit. And don't be so quick to react and see how it goes. So she went back to school. I think it was about a couple of years ago now. And all of a sudden, things started improving for her. There's still the odd issue, but she was getting on better. She started focusing. The teachers were more respectful because they could see she was applying herself. So it's a nice, you know, there's growth. And that's what we have to realize. Children are children. Doesn't matter what age they are. If they're at school, they're at school. They're all growing in emotionally intelligent and, you know, actual intelligence. There's all sorts of cognitive functions. And I think we expect people to be adults, children to be adults, which is ridiculous. They're growing. Allow them to mature gracefully. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to have relapses. So, you know, has she been perfect throughout school? No, but she's had but even if you took away like the trauma she's had, there's still a child growing up, but she's had her trauma that many people would truly never understand. You're ripped away from your family. You've had all of your rights removed. The people that you feel you can confide in, they've betrayed you with that. So you think you can talk in confidence and you feel like they're listening, and instead they do the complete opposite. There's all sorts of layers to this, you know, but it's like unless you've experienced it, you'd never know. You'd never understand. There's people that go through separation, but, you know, parental separations and things, but it goes far deeper than that. I'm not going to keep going in that direction. I just want to make the point that some people carry trauma and they have issues in that sense. And you continue trying to get on in the world. She's a beautiful human being. Like, it's ridiculous. I know she's my daughter, and I say that to her all the time. Like, if I say something positive, she says, "We have to say that because you're my father or my dad." I can't remember how she says it, one or the other. And I say to her, "No, I don't. No, that's not the case at all. If I think for a moment that you're behaving in a way that isn't fair and it's a bit spoiled, or whatever it is, I'll pull you up on it. Whether you know, I'm honest. I don't, you know, if it offends you, if it upsets you, it have to upset you because you need to learn." So I said, if you had a boyfriend and I felt the boyfriend was going above and beyond for you, you're being disrespectful, and I feel they could do better in that situation because you're not mature enough to handle that connection, I would tell them and I would tell you. You know, it's not for me to get too involved, but if I feel you're stepping out of it and it's not fair for this person, I would not willingly, I could not watch someone suffering and being abused just because it favors me to do so. No. I'll hold her accountable just as I hold everybody else accountable. So I made that clear to her. Like, if you ever hear me compliment you, it's because I'm genuinely complimenting you. If I feel there's something wrong, I'm going to tell you there's something wrong. But she's beautiful, inside and out. I always say it. She's an upgrade on me in many aspects. I have kindness and I have compassion where it's deserved. But I lack kindness and compassion for people who I think are assholes. You know, again, everybody's going through life and then maybe there's a reason they're an arsehole in a period, but I can't put up with it. If I don't like you, I don't like you. You can learn from me from things I talk about, the things I write about, but you won't get an audience with me. I don't waste my time. My daughter has far more compassion and kindness. Again, maybe it's a naivety and it's something that she'll have to work on in the future, perhaps. But for now, you know, she has beautiful layers. It's actually incredible to watch her, you know. Again, I've just said, if she wasn't, I don't just talk people up. Me and her have always been very honest and transparent. We don't lie to each other, but genuinely. I know some people say, oh, yeah, maybe. No, she doesn't. She doesn't like to, she's never swore. She doesn't like swearing at all. I don't mind swearing. I don't give a shit. You can hear me now. You know, I compose myself better for my content. It's professional, but I've got no problems in general. I'm not like I just go around swearing for the sake of it, but I've got no issues speaking my mind and whatever I feel in a moment. She's far more composed and she doesn't feel comfortable swearing and things. I think that just shows quite, she holds herself accountable. I think that's really good. It shows control, you know, restraint. That's actually quite beautiful. And she is respectful of other people. But she's still growing through life, and I don't think it's ideal for anybody to put themselves in a situation where maybe people behaving toxic towards you, and because it could offend them that you leave, you stay. That doesn't serve any party or purpose. So there's a situation where over the past, so we got better at school, and all of a sudden she started making friends. There was people at school who maybe there were a couple of people maybe friends of each other. There was maybe someone that's alone and all that, and there was without them realizing they all had something. They all had there's a friendship that could be formed there. That she was the glue that brought them together for some reason, you know. So they were all fragmented. She started talking to people, started becoming, you know, getting on with school a little bit better now. And this friend group formed. And I don't know how many. Let's say it's about 10. It's quite beautiful. She had this friend group you could trust, and they were doing things. I think last year, I think it was this summer that's just been. One of the parents took them to a seaside together, and as a group, and they all went on the beach and all sorts. And I thought that was nice. Now it's in my mum's care, you know. In all honesty, would I? I've said it to her before. I'm far more protective. I think there's a level of allowing independence and things like that, but there are things I wouldn't allow that she's, I wouldn't say get away with, but it's been allowed at the other end. Maybe I look at life as there's a reason for everything. I've shared documentation through court and things. It's just it was so unfair. It was unreasonable, everything about it, you know. And I'm transparent with it. I could tell the story again. It'd be exactly how it's written in the book. I don't lie. I don't feel comfortable lying. And I think if you lie, you got to keep trying to remember shit. I don't have to remember anything. It's there. So I don't really care if people believe me or not. I'm trying to think there what I was going to get at. Ah, yeah. So if she was in and I've been clear with her about this. If you was in my care, I wouldn't have allowed this and I wouldn't have allowed that. I'm not sure about the beach thing, but I think personally I would have drove them to the beach. At least my daughter. I wouldn't feel comfortable with a stranger because if anything ever happened to her, that would weigh on my conscience that I should have took her. So little things like that. Yeah, I would feel more comfortable me driving than someone else driving. Now, obviously, I can't control the parameters of her life for her whole life. But while she's still a child, yeah, I'd rather support her. She's had issues where maybe someone's been really weird on a bus. Someone's followed her, she's told me about later on after it's happened. So she's been followed around a little bit, which is freaky as shit. And again, if she was with me, I would have drove her to places. If you go to school, I could take you to, you know, I would go above and beyond. I'd work around her. Sleepovers, I wouldn't have allowed sleepovers, personally. I don't think it's necessary. I know it's a part of some people's childhood. I don't think it's entirely necessary. I wouldn't feel comfortable with it. Heard too many stories where you could have an unhinged family member turns up or some issue in a problem or something, and then someone turns up and not only do they attack that family, they attack whoever's there. And you could be a collateral damage. You could be a victim of circumstance. That's not a risk I'm prepared to take. Again, when she's older, I don't have control of that. It's free to do what she wants, but I think it's important we try our best to get them to adulthood. And I wouldn't really feel comfortable too much of them having people around. Not because I wouldn't enjoy the company or not. I just, I've had, you can have my ex-partner. I'm transparent as shit. I don't really care. My ex-partner accused me of emotional abuse to get what she wants through family court. It fitted the narrative, and I explained how that fit the narrative, and I explained everything that happened. People want to believe, relevant. But I know what it's like to be falsely accused of abuse. So it means I'm also, so then by transparent, it's also aware that people make allegations. So I wouldn't want to put myself in a compromised situation where just for my daughter to have fun with her friends, and let's say they have a fallout, an argument, one tries to make an accusation against me. No, I'm not going to put up with that. I'm not having that risk. So having people in my home, I'm not prepared to have that. It's just sensible. So, yeah. So from that point of view, I wouldn't really feel that comfortable with it. But I mean, there's obviously depend on the leeway. But anyway, that's my take on things. So within those pockets of friendship, sometimes they started out, some of them would have arguments, they'd have tiffs. It might be about a boy. It could just be just something in general. Or maybe they're just not compatible. Maybe there's rifts that were forming and some people got on better than others. And it just happens, doesn't it? Things don't always last forever, especially in childhood. So my daughter was spending an awful lot of time around one girl's house. And she told me that girl apparently, I don't like talking about people's sexuality, but they like girls. My daughter isn't like that, but she was a friend. But the problem is this girl kept touching my daughter too often, kept touching. Whenever she could touch her, she'd touch her and things. And it was bothering her a lot, like it was getting annoying. I think her personality was quite clingy as well, and it was the annoying things she was doing. And over time, it was just getting too much of my daughter, really. Like she liked her to a degree, but it's like, this is just annoying. And it was just getting too weird. And she was clingy. So, for instance, if she's spending time with another friend, this other friend's getting jealous and just wants all the time to herself. Or if my daughter's talking to me on the phone, like let's say we have our time, like that's for my daughter, that's the priority. Don't always do it, but if we're doing it, she'd still want the time with her. It's just weird. There's no boundary. So it reached a point where my daughter's decided she's going to separate, like set a boundary, like distance a little bit. Give some time to yourself, which is great. These are sort of things I teach her. So you could argue maybe I'm at fault. Who gives a shit? It's empowering ourselves. It's saying we get to decide who we have in our life and the life I want. We don't have to be bound to people for our whole life or for a period just because someone's going to get offended. If you're going to be offended, you're going to have to be offended. Get comfortable with it. It's just life. So if you behaved in a more reasonable way, maybe it wouldn't happen. But at the same time, we have experiences. People get in relationships, you relocate. All these things happen to split people up anyway. So she decides her mum was stuck because for a period, that child's mum was driving them to school. I didn't know that was going on, but that was going on. So she was driving her to, I don't know if she's bringing her home as well. I don't think so, but it could have been. So my daughter's like, no, I'm going to walk today. And when someone has ridiculous tantrum, it's so dramatic. It's outrageous. Because my daughter, decided she wanted to walk to school, the other child threw a tantrum at home. This is what she told me. This is the event. The other child threw a tantrum at home and refused to go to school. What? Like how emotionally imbalanced are you? And the fact that a mother is then trying to spread rumours about my daughter just shows the imbalance and the chemical imbalance between perhaps the family, That's mental. Want to know something else that's even more unhinged? Because my daughter used to get lifts with them, like she for some reason, the mum had my daughter's phone number or they communicated. I don't really know how that worked. But the mum said, like, she knew that she's going to walk because her daughter's throwing a hissy fit. She messaged my daughter and said, right, I'm going to come and get you in a little while, like, to drive you to school. My daughter's like, no, I'm going to walk. And her crazy attitude was, oh, I've got donuts. You're trying to freaking bribe her with treats. It's mental. Rather than let kids work it out between themselves, which is what a mature person should be doing, it's not for you to control every parameter of a connection relationship. It was ridiculous. And because my daughter's quite headstrong, like me, she's adamant. If she gets her by saying she's got to mind something, no, I'm doing this for me. I want to walk to school. She can listen to some music, whatever. Relax, have time to herself. So she's gone to school and this child's not turned up. I don't even know how long she was off school, but that was mental to me. Like, how you're not even ill, you're just mentally. I don't want to say the word, but you know what I'm saying. And like, this has been a while ago. This isn't recent. This is maybe a few months now. And like the group's been fragmenting, like I said, over time. Some have gone a bit too far. Some haven't. You know, so there's a couple that just did pocket off. They split off, and then they were jealous because of who. Like my daughter was dating someone, and one of the girls was date. I think one of the girls that she's not even friends with. This is a whole other bloody crazy. There's a girl that was dating him before, but it wasn't really a love connection. He wasn't really comfortable in it. That person was really mental, like crazy connect. Like, you know, when someone's overly clingy. And as soon as my daughter started dating him, the dating like they broke up, and then a little while later, my daughter started dating him. It wasn't immediate. This other one just become obsessed. You know, trying to stalk, trying to figure out where they're going to be, all this sort of shit. And again, this is so unhinged. There's one thing about adolescence and trying to grow and mature. There's another thing being entirely crazy and probably taking it into adulthood. Like, that was crazy. And I kept hearing about this kid, and I'm like, this one's absolutely unhinged. I said, I would just ignore that one and just don't give them time and energy. Don't give them if they try to instigate anything, you just best thing you do is ignore them, because that's what they want, the attention. And then that child tried spreading rumours around the school, you know, about my daughter and things. It was just absolutely mental. Like, well, how unhinged have you got to be, you know? Just because someone's dating someone and you can't handle it. And apparently at that time, that other kid even had a boyfriend. But people get like that, don't they? Get obsessed with someone else, and it's just crazy. You just want to live their life for some reason. Madness. So anyway, when these kids started breaking up a little bit, the core group started splitting because my daughter's boyfriend broke up with her over the summer holidays, right before school, mind you. So my daughter's gone back to school crying. So that's quite embarrassing for her. Like, why couldn't he do it any other time? They had a good time at the beach when they all went, and then shortly after he broke up with her, and it's like, that was quite cruel. I don't think he's a horrible kid, but I think timing's terrible, and I think, you know, he's got maturing to do. But either way. So when this group started fragmenting off, some of them started going towards that lunatic one. And then they'd start having these gossiping parties and things. It's just sad how people get like that, isn't it? Instead of just being mature enough to handle situations and focus on your own life, which I teach people. Focus on your own life. Just stay in your own lane. Don't worry about the noise around you. Don't worry about that person doing this, that person doing that. But it's amazing how intense some people are on destabilizing someone else's life. And because this other parent doesn't like the fact that my daughter is independent and chooses her friends wisely. So maybe she leaves this friend group. Maybe she doesn't. It's her choice who she hangs out with. I mean, I've just said that about me. Like, people can put it flaky. It's not. I've had a core group friend at school, friendship at school, but I had my own pockets of things anyway. But I'm a bit different to everyone else. She's a bit like me at times. Like, I think she's more sociable than me. Like, I can be the life of the party. Believe me, I can talk to everybody. But if I'm given a choice, I'm probably not going to bother. You know, and that's me. I like my space. I like my time to myself. I like to conserve my energy. I like to relax. I like to be peaceful. I just want to be chill. I don't want to be too involved a lot of the time. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy myself when I'm doing it, but getting me to do it is the problem. She's a bit more outgoing like that. So she'll put herself in places, you know, and I'm like, I can't bother. Can't remember where I was going with that. But anyway, you know, I've probably missed the thought of what I was going to with this one, weirdly enough. But this person's mum now is spreading rumours amongst all the other parents that my daughter uses the other children and jumps from friendship to friendship. And it's like, how mental have you got to be to try to tarnish someone's reputation? Bear in mind, you're a grown adult. Do you know what it reminds me of? I don't know if anyone's seen, is it Dance Mums? I can't remember what it's called. It might be called Dance Mums. I think it is. Abby something. And if you looked at that, because they all wanted their kids to be the top one, there was always one, I think, can't remember the name now. No, I can't remember the name. But anyway, there's always one that's like the top one, the best. And everybody else either wants to be the best or they want to be the next best thing. So between them, they bicker, even though it's got nothing to do with the kids. The kids might be a little bit competitive, but I don't think they're anywhere near as competitive as the adults. So you've got parents trying to sabotage each other or the other person's child. It's just sick, innit? It's just absolutely sick. The competition is crazy. I've never understood that. Like, why not just let kids be kids? Let them grow. Let them make mistakes. You can have issues. And like I say, this person seems absolutely mental to go around trying to tarnish someone else's reputation just because you don't like what they're doing, or you don't like who they are, or it just offended you in some way. Whatever the bloody reason is, it's like, what does it matter? I mean, they're going to finish high school soon. I've said that. I've had these conversations with my daughter. I'm like, once you finish high school, you've got the life ahead of you. So it's ridiculous. And I said the thing about people is they're creatures of habit. So this lunatic's going to have this problem with their child for a long time. You know, if they're not emotionally regulated, they cannot control their actions, and they behave in a very unhinged way to make them absolutely insane. They're going to do this with multiple kids, and they've probably done it in the past. So what's going to happen when this child goes off to school, like college, sixth form, college, or work? What's she going to do? Start freaking messaging all the parent going to start messaging other students and teachers and bosses, and because I can see that where she's been mental. She's probably phoned the managers and stuff, you know, and try and get them to just you know, sack someone or something. It's just crazy. But people like that, they get caught up in their mess eventually, don't they? But I just think it's mental that you'd go out of your way to try to ruin a child's character. You know, so like for me, I was never going to reveal the child's name of the one involved, but I got no problem talking openly about the parent. So if I had a face and name, it had been here now. So my point really is, if that lunatic wants to target my daughter, I'd say try and target me, and we'll see how it goes. The difference with me, I'm transparent as shit. I've got nothing to hide, never have, never will. If I do something wrong, I'd admit it. But lunatics like that like to act like the sun shines out their arse and they're perfect, even though inside they're crazy as shit. And they do unhinged things, and it's a pattern of behaviour where they don't take any accountability. So let's see through you for a bit, shall we? And let's see how truthful you are. Absolute nutcase. Like I say, I don't really let people off the hook. I say this is the thing I've had in those workplaces, and that was only one of the workplaces. I've had it in a few. You just get assholes everywhere, don't you? I don't let people off the hook. Sometimes I'll watch for a bit, but as soon as they try and target me, it's like, okay, now I'm going to tell you what I think. And then they try and weasel out of it. There was the one I said that worked in the yard. He kept trying to walk away. I thought, you ain't walking away. I'm not letting you just say shit and then walk off. Let's get to the end of this. Let's figure out the truth. Don't like it, do they? So they like to target people, but they don't like to go to the depths of the problem. Let's really find out who's the problem here. Let's see what you've been trying to sneak away with. Yeah, people don't want to do that. They just want to make you the crazy person, or you're the issue to fit a narrative. But when they get deep down into it, they don't want to go there. Maybe don't start it in the first place then. I don't think it's wise to target a 15-year-old, personally. And like I say, you do it long enough, and it's sustained enough, and then you recognise it's having a detrimental impact on an innocent person's reputation. I mean, that's when it starts getting a bit more dodgy, isn't it? Because then we have to start looking at, because I'm not someone that's afraid of all this shit, you know? It's like you start doing that, then we start going towards the police, then we start going towards the courts. Because you've got to be held accountable for being slanderous. So if you're going to defame her, you need to be held accountable. So maybe rein it in, shut the fuck up, be a grown-ass adult, get on with your life and support your child. Help them develop. But, you know, I have no doubt that many people have come across lunatics in the past, and then lunatics will continue to exist. But I think sometimes they play with the wrong people. It's like, learn to just stay in your own lane and piss off. That'd be a good start, wouldn't it? Believe me, I was fuming last night when I found out. So I thought, who the hell's this lunatic? Anyway, I've probably been as controlled and measured as I possibly could. But in all honesty, I'm grounded, I'm controlled, I'm very measured. You wouldn't, you know, I'm very calculating in that sense. I don't go out of character. I don't do things to be a pain in the ass. But when it's time to say something or speak up, I will. And I'm pretty confident if I was in their presence, having found that information out, I'd have told them to their face they're absolutely insane and crazy. You know, I'm not someone that shies away from shit. So that'd just be yet another argument in the history of many. So yeah, I just think they've got to be held accountable. You know, there's too much of this shit. So people can hold me accountable. You can go mental in the comments. You can point out things where maybe you think I've been wrong. And it's like, fine. Because everyone's entitled to an opinion, aren't they? Well, I've no doubt that other people have had many similar stories of this shit in the past, where you get crazy parents and they just think it's the standard and normal, but they live through their children in some weird way, and they haven't parented their children in a very positive way, have they? They haven't given them the confidence and the tools to get out in the real world. I said to my daughter yesterday, jokingly, she said something to me. She called me, and I was really tired because I'd had lack of sleep and I was busy all day. I was doing my videos and things, and it was at really a bad time. So I tried to do the call with her, but I was so tired, and I just thought I can't even sit here doing this anymore. I need to sleep. I need a nap. Like, I'm really tired. My body's shutting down on me. So she's like, okay. So it's about an hour and a half later. Call her, and then she's like, I usually say, "What is it you want?" Like, I'll talk like that, but just joking, really. Sometimes I mean it, but. And then she said that immediately. What do you want? I said, what are you talking about? I said, you're the one that just called me. I said, what? I can't call you. It was just a little bit of banter, really. I can't remember where I was going with that. Oh, I can't remember where I was going. There's something about empowering. That's it. I said she was talking to her mum about something. I can't remember what she was talking about. But she tried saying something to me. I can't remember what she said. And I just made the point to her that I said, actually, I think she was saying you're my father or something like that. And I said, actually, on a basic level, I just need to give you the tools to be able to go into so when you're an adult, you can actually thrive in the world. I said, that's at a basic level, that's all I ever need to do. And she was like, you know, she actually got up, not upset, but it's more like she doesn't want to let go or something. You know, she doesn't want it to be like that. Because some parents are like that, you know, you get to adult, like even 18, and they just kick them out. You know, that's not the case with my daughter, but I was just making a point on basic level. I just need to get you there. and I reinforced it by saying, if you think about the animal kingdom, it's very rare for an animal to stay attached to their family once they've grown up. She didn't much like that. But ultimately, what that comes down to is where you've got these unhinged parents, if you've not nurtured your child where they can enter the adult world comfortably and independently, then you haven't done your job. So if as you complete high school, if you're still at a place where you're underdeveloped, it's going to be hard stepping into the real world. So college is a completely different situation to school. I consider school like a prison. You know, you've got no options, you've got no freedom, you're stuck confined to the space and the structure and the people that you're surrounded by. There's no real freedom of expression. You can't choose who you really want to be with. Once you go out into the big world, you now have options. And there's a good chance, if you're absolutely unhinged and mental, people won't want to be around you. And that's just the case, isn't it? People would rather be around people that they can trust. That's important, isn't it? Now, you might attract the odd lunatic, but that person might be crazier than you. So you get all of a sudden you're spiraling. So if this child, for instance, is being supported by an absolute unhinged, I don't want to say uneducated, but who knows, parent who can't even control their emotions, then I think that's quite a big problem for that child, because if they're underdeveloped now, it's going to be really hard to integrate in a very short space of time into the big world. So I think they may have a problem integrating because the parent didn't do their job. So it's easy for them to start accusing another child who has been empowered, you know, so they are ready for the challenges that come. So maybe they don't like that. But what I'm saying, the one thing that parent is probably misunderstanding and not recognizing is the fact that I've been reinforcing this for my daughter for her whole life. I've taught her manners from an early age. I've taught her boundaries. I've taught about respecting herself, loving herself. Very early age. Boundaries was later. Self-love was important very early, because how I did this, I did it in a very unorthodox way. She would say, I love you, and I'd say, I love me too. And she'd go, oi. I go, no. I said, look, and then I'd say, I love you too, but it's important that we love ourselves. I love who I am. I love me. I said, you should love you. She goes, I do. I said, you should tell yourself you love you. And sometimes she does that. She goes, I love me too. Like me. I go, that's good. So I don't go, oi. Sometimes I do just as a joke because she does it to me. But most of the time I'll just say, oh, that's good. You should love you. You're awesome. And I've been empowering that into her for a long time. So if someone else tries telling her, oh, you're this, you're that, she knows her character. She knows her personality. That's not true. Might hurt her in a moment because this is why I say, like, she's upgrades on me in some ways, but there's some ways in which I know it's not. And that's fine. it can upset her more when people don't like her or if there's an issue. So when things are personal like that, it can absolutely upset her. And sometimes I have to reinforce it to her and to show her all the ways in which that's not true. But the more she gets used to that, the more comfortable she'll be in the future. But it's not always easy, especially when you're empathic. But with me, if I say it a lot, and people might think I say it for the sake. I don't say it for the sake of it. I genuinely couldn't give a shit. I don't need people to like me. It means nothing to me. Like I don't. It's not like in a obnoxious way. I don't need validation. So I don't. People can criticize me. They can adore me. It just doesn't matter though because I already love me. So it's not adding anything. I'm used to going through life with lack of support. I'm used to going through life without people cheering me on. It's fine. It's not like I'm mourning that and I'm upset about it. It's like I appreciate me for me. I do what I do because it brings me joy. It makes me happy. It makes me feel like I'm fulfilling my goals. If you watch me, you'll see that. So I'm just self-empowered. I don't need fuel from other people. I'm already refueling myself. If that's probably the easiest way of putting it. So it's not like, oh, I don't care in general. Like if someone appreciates something, it makes you happy, of course, for a moment. You think, oh, that's good. But it's more good for me knowing what I do helps people. That makes me feel better. Like I know it's impacted their life. It's helped them. Great. Even if something maybe I do wrong, if it helps someone's, I've said this before. I don't look for people to mirror me. It's just I put a mirror up to other people really. So let's say I say something and someone already had a belief that goes against what I say. I say something and it reinforces to them that I'm wrong and they're still right. Well, that's great for you because it's just empowered you and said, okay, it's reinforced to you in a belief you have. We don't have to agree on everything. Could be a fundamental thing where we actually dislike each other. But if it's emboldened you to feel that that's true in your life, then great for you. I don't need you to be me. And I think that's the thing a lot of people have trouble with. They try to convert people to be them. They don't feel comfortable with their way of life and their way of thinking. Essentially, they don't feel comfortable as themselves. So they have to convert people to mirror what they're doing, and then they feel more comfortable with that. Whereas I'm the opposite. I really don't need any of it. And I don't say that for effect. I'm more than comfortable with everybody being different to me. And again, so you go full circle. It's quite apparent this other parent really has a trouble being independent. They have trouble just accepting that change occurs. They have trouble with the fact that some people just won't like them. You have to make peace with it. Why would you waste your time slandering someone and trying to ruin someone's character and going all that way when you could just heal a situation? So you could just empower your daughter in the same way I empower mine. Like, why go out your way to try to ruin her because why would you, if you think that child's so bad, so like if she thinks my daughter's bad, why would you waste your time trying to make her stay friends with your friend? Why would you want her around you? Why would you even try to bribe her with treats? You're lying your ass off. You're trying to convince yourself now that that's the problem. Look, you're the problem. I could be more spiteful. I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, some people are just nuts.